Falling Stars, Episode 2. When she opened her eyes for the first time since arriving on the earth she had longed for, the rich air forced its way into the lungs she had now been given. She was lying on the ground, crushing the grass beneath her fragile body, testing sensations that were entirely unfamiliar to her. She did not know where she was or who she was. Her memories had dissolved along with her identity during the journey to her new home. Now she felt the cold moving uninvited from the top of her body to the bottom. She felt the sunlight tickling her bare skin, failing, however, in its attempt to fight the new sensation brought by the wind that danced freely around her. It was exactly as she had once seen it from above, a wildness of life caught in a disordered dance with the forces that had given birth to the planet. Her instincts told her that she could stand on the legs she had been left to manage, and so she did. She pressed both hands against the solid ground and rose to her full height. At first, she lost her balance a few times, but soon she began to grow accustomed to her new companion, gravity. Clumsy, she even managed to take a few steps. She felt that there were things she could not name, yet they had been left within her for a reason. What is it that I cannot remember? A fleeting thought crossed her mind, but just as quickly as it had appeared, it disappeared. A small butterfly fluttered before her eyes, trying to steal her attention. Strange creature, Asra thought, but beautiful, she added. The butterfly moved away from her in an almost intentional way, keeping a slow rhythm, just enough for Asra to follow. It led her farther and farther from the plain where she had awakened, drawing her now into the heart of a dense forest. The sensations from before began to intensify. The cold no longer drifted across her, it struck her sharply, almost painfully. The grass that had once tickled her harmlessly now felt harsh and cutting. The fallen branches became real obstacles, injuring the soles of her feet, which were still learning to support her weight. The butterfly had increased its speed, leaving her far behind. The new feeling the former star now experienced was something entirely different: helplessness. And the longer the helplessness remained, the faster despair began to settle in. In the end, she gave up chasing the butterfly. She leaned against the thick trunk of an old tree. She was tired, and now she faced hunger. She did not truly know what it was. She placed her hand over the upper part of her abdomen as if trying to silence the sounds that had begun to emerge. To her, the sound seemed almost comical, yet she could not laugh because of the pain that came with it. Then, without warning, everything she had wished most to encounter since watching from above the planet appeared before her eyes. In flesh and bone, a human. A real human was now approaching Astra, not imagined, not observed from afar, not dreamed of in the thousands of dreams she had while she was still a star. "Don't be afraid, you're safe," the child in front of her said. His eyes studied her with concern, taking in the vulnerability of her bare form. In the next moment, the child removed his fur-lined coat and carefully stepped towards her. The idea of danger was not something Astra had even been taught to understand, so she could only wonder why the child had spoken those words to her. She did not feel fear, but she was cold and she was hungry. After covering her with his coat, the boy crouched beside her, trying to speak to her at the same level. "What is your name?" he asked. No matter how hard Astra tried in that moment to remember, she could not. "I can't remember," she admitted. "What are you doing here like this? Aren't you cold?" he continued. "I think I am." Hearing that, the boy stood up, encouraging Astra to do the same. "My home isn't far. If you want to come with me, I can give you food and shelter. You won't be cold anymore. And I promise I'll help you remember your name so you can find your way back home." The boy's offer filled Astra with a warmth that came from within. They set off together, walking side by side at an unhurried pace. The boy understood that he now had to care for both of them, becoming responsible for every step Astra took through the forest he already knew so well. Along the way, he told her about his family, about himself, and about how Astra's situation reminded him of how his family had once found another person wandering this wood 6 years earlier. A person just as lost and unaware as she was now. Astra found the situation strange, yet the fact that she could not remember her name or where she came from had not changed at all. She chose to remain silent, listening to the one whose name she had learned was Body. After some time, the two of them reached the place Body enthusiastically called home. A small but tidy house, built and painted by the boy's father himself. All around it were all kinds of colorful goods grown by the same skilled hands. The scent in the air was so fresh and inviting that Astra's stomach stirred once again, this time even louder. Bodhi recognized that sound very well. Many times he spent his days wandering through the forest, forgetting to eat. Letting out a short chuckle, the boy stood on his tiptoes to reach one of the red apples waiting to be picked. His height didn't help much, so he added a small jump to his attempt. A successful one. He tossed the apple to Astra, smiling victoriously. At the same moment, the door of the house suddenly opened, revealing an older man, gray-haired and visibly worn down by life. His tired eyes moved quickly between the boy and Astra. "Body? Who is she? Where are her clothes?" the man asked, clearly unsettled by the sight. Outside, the daylight had already begun to fade. While waiting for an answer, he gestured for them to come inside, where the cold could no longer reach them. While his father quickly brought Astra clean clothes, Bodhi began explaining how he had found her in the forest, alone, and how she could not remember her name or where she came from. The boy's words weighed heavily on the man, filling his mind with troubling possibilities. What if she had been kidnapped? What if someone had hurt her? What if she had run away from home without telling her parents where she was? What if she was lying about not remembering who she was? The father's worries never stop, especially when he already has 3 lives in his home that he has raised on his own with great effort. His conscience would not allow him to send her away, knowing too well the dangers that lurked in those parts. At the same time, the situation was not entirely unfamiliar. Living under the same roof was another soul who had once been just as lost as she was now. He allowed her to eat from their food and warm herself with the clothes he had given her. I don't know what happened to you, and I don't know whether you are telling the truth, the man said. What I do know is that I cannot leave you out there alone. There are wild animals that might decide you would make a good meal. And there are people who can be far less kind, perhaps even dangerous. Astra's expression once again revealed her confusion. Why would people be dangerous? She wondered silently. Either way, the man continued, you cannot stay here. There are 4 of us already, and we barely manage from one day to the next. Even if we could make room for you, it would not be right to raise a stranger who may be expected somewhere else. Eat and rest. Tomorrow we will go into town to the police. We will ask for help regarding your situation, just as we did with Jahaka. Jahaka? Astra asked, curious. Jahaka is the one I told you about, the person we found in the forest. Just like you, he was completely naked, disoriented, and without any memory. When Moha and I found him, he had just stepped on a hedgehog. That's how we came up with the name Jahaka. He liked it so much that he kept repeating it over and over. With time, he never remembered his original name, so he kept the one that made him cry out and drew our attention to him in the first place. Funny, I know, but because of that hedgehog, we left our path and found him. Who knows where he would have ended up that night? Body was then interrupted by the door opening for the second time with the same sharp sound.